How consistently can you stay present? I think that's been something, or that's been a question I've been asking myself. And I think as a result, life has been asking me in a way. And what I mean by that is every time I feel I've been, I won't say fully present, but um, more present than usual, and being able to maintain it for a sustained period of time, just something will almost happen in my life, and nothing major, that will almost crash, almost throw me off a bit, or that will try to throw me off a bit. For example, last week was probably the most, actually, it has been the most amount of work hours I've put in a week. Now, this week is kind of the exact opposite. And so, as I was approaching, the end of the week last week, I became aware of how I was able to, try to be present in those moments. And for me, being present is just about, being fully in the moment, taking it for what it is, and almost savoring the time. So when I was working, I was tired, and there are times I'd get a little frustrated. But I try to just become aware of that feeling, and and take it for what it is. Realize that it's not going to be there forever, and that it's more or less just that season, whether that season only lasts a week, a month, a day, whatever it may be. And when I do so, I almost come to enjoy the moment. And then everything else, just tastes that much better, feels that much smoother. And then now coming into this week, I think I've really only worked one day as far as just like a regular W-2 job. But again, at first that gave me a little bit of anxiousness, just because, the previous week I was used to the opposite, and my initial response is almost to think that there's something wrong and to try and fix it. And I noticed that, especially today being Wednesday, so halfway through the week. And again, I try to become present, doing what needs to be done, and then taking and enjoying the moment for what it is. Telling myself the same thing. Will not be like this forever. It's just this time. This may last 2 weeks. I don't know. It may be done after today. I don't know. And so now, instead of that uncertainty creating a state of anxiety within me, like, oh shit, I gotta figure out, what I'm gonna do for work. I gotta figure out, how I'm gonna get money, da da da. I instead take it for what it is and realize that, some of the things are not in my control, and now use that same uncertainty to my advantage, that randomness. Knowing that, again, it will change for the better, for the worse, I don't know. But what I do know is that allowing those emotions to influence my decisions will not bring me any benefit. I think those emotions, anxiety, fear, even, the good ones, the happiness, the joy, the ecstasy, I think they're all there to make you aware of something, and almost to bring you maybe into the present, out of the present. But I don't think that they should heavily influence your actual decision. So when it came to today, and I had a little bit of anxiety about not working the same as I did the previous week, it was good that was brought to my attention. But I can't, my use of anxiety is done right there. I no longer need it. I need to discard it once I make my decision, now that I'm aware. This has been something that's I've worked a lot on, because my life at one point was not what I wanted it to be. Actually, at multiple points in my life, it is not what I wanted it to be. For a while I would, say it's other people's fault and other people are responsible for it. But as I got older and I reflected more on my life, I realized that for sure, I may have been influenced by some other people, but at the end of the day, the decision was on me, and I never felt like I was out of my own control, and I never felt like I was forced to do anything against my own will. And there's just the accountability. And, at first for me, I was like, damn, you feel a little bit of shame, or at least I did, knowing when you messed up. But again, it's just supposed to make you aware of something, not influence your decision. So for me, I couldn't let go of that shame. And as a result, my life did not improve. It was once I learned to let go of the shame, still be aware of my previous mistakes and past mistakes, but most importantly, remembering it without the emotion. So now when I move forward and I make decisions, that shame is no longer there. And, looking at the times where I made the biggest improvements in my life, I was not a perfect man in the process, no. But what I will give myself credit for is I did a lot of things without hesitation. And everything that I did, everything that I tried to do, I went in with the mindset that I could do it. There was no self-doubt whatsoever, no self-doubt. And again, did I fuck up? Of course. But I also did the things that I needed to do. And, looking and reflecting on those two sides of my life, it's coming to understand that there is a balance. I can't be ashamed of the things that I've done and just use that to lead to inaction. So I feel like that's the worst thing. But also, I can't go through and act like I'm Mr. Perfect and that I know everything and that there's no room for improvement. I do think it's a balance of the two. I think the emotions on both sides of it are just used to bring you into... The emotions, I believe, are used to make you aware. And then either, positively or negatively enforce a behavior or stop a behavior. But no matter what, emotion, good or bad, I don't think they can be held onto for long. And I think it's, trying to hold on to an emotion. I think that's what, can lead to just overindulgence in things. It doesn't necessarily have to be addiction. But I notice myself, if I start the day, and we'll just say first thing is a coffee. If I start the day and I have a sugary iced coffee, let's just say a regular iced coffee from McDonald's, it's pretty good. I then find myself, all of a sudden that's where the craving starts, in that last sip. Now I'm almost like looking for the next thing that can lead to me eating earlier in the day, eating more sugary foods in the day. And it's almost like a trickle effect from there. Then by the end of the day, it's like, do I want to go to class? Do I want to work out? Not really, having this food or going to do this just sounds a little bit better. And, same thing to the other end is when, say I do black coffee, craving's no longer there, just makes it easier to follow that pattern.